Excellencies, University Presidents, honored guests, AIT alumni, faculty, staff, and students. My name is Sean Kelly. Thank you for joining our AIT 60th Anniversary Presidents Forum with people coming from all over the world. To begin our afternoon program, I would like to announce that there is an information desk located outside of the auditorium for any questions you may have during the afternoon session. For university presidents and their accompanying members, the buses will depart for the Rama Garden Hotel at 5 p.m. at the AIT Clock Tower, located just outside of this auditorium. For AIT alumni and GBM members returning to the Rama Gardens Hotel, the buses will depart at 5:30 in front of the Clock Tower. So we want to make this the most trending event in the history of AIT. So please don't forget to hashtag AIT60 on social media. I'm very pleased at this moment to invite to the stage the president of the Asian Institute of Technology, Dr. Eden Woon, to deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. President.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all here and still very fresh after getting up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning to come out here. But I think that you will discover that this will be a very exciting afternoon. It won't be very long. We start at 1 o'clock, and I'm sure we'll be over probably around 4:30. So if the bus leaves at 5, you'll be in Rama Gardens about 6 for you to sample whatever you want to do in Bangkok this evening, or just simply relax. But this afternoon, the princess, if you notice, Her Royal Highness in her talk, noted that this forum was going to take place. And she was very impressed, and in our conversation with her privately also, and you heard her remarks, with the number of academics coming here from renowned global education institutions. And AIT really thanks you for taking time to come, because I was telling my staff that I remember when I was vice president at Hong Kong UST, we would get at least 2 invitations a month for going to celebrate another university's anniversary, and that's 24 a year. And then my president and I usually divide up the duty, and it would be lucky if we hit 4 of them a year. So for you to choose to come to AIT is really meaningful to us. And we hope that this morning's ceremony, thanks to the very, very gracious presence of Her Royal Highness, was a highlight, no doubt. And this afternoon, I think there will be a lot of food for thought. Simply put, there are 3 topics here, three terms that are being addressed this afternoon. One is innovation, one is globalization, one is sustainability. And it seems like these are 3 different subjects, but they actually are all interconnected. And I think the speakers this afternoon are well experienced and well knowledge to explore. The first session will be on how does your university inject innovation into your research. The second one is how does your globalization effort, how does that help the whole issue of social impact? How internationalization really helps you with that. And the third is coming back to your home, how you try to maintain a sustainable campus, or you aim to have a sustainable campus, so you're actually doing what you preach, doing what you're doing the research in. And those are the subjects, and I don't want to dwell any longer to take time away from the experts. And so the first session will be starting right now, and then there will be a slight break, tea break, coffee break, and then we'll go 2 sessions back to back, and then we're out of here. So I'll just invite the chairman to come up, and then he will invite the rest of his speakers. So for the first session is President Bondit from Chulalongkorn.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you all today, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate AIT for their 60th anniversary. And as you may understand that the princess was here this morning, and I would like to just give you some information that she has been hospitalized for a week, and she just came out of the hospital yesterday, and today she was presented here, and that shows that how important AIT is in Thailand. And now I would like to turn to the first session, which is pointed out by the President Eden Boon, that we talk about innovation. And before going to innovation, I would like to share with you the role of university nowadays. I think is very important. That the university, how can be appreciated by the social? Because in the past, many people criticized that the university normally did what they prefer, which perhaps not very relevant to what social needs. And it leads to the university roles nowadays, that the university needs to be relevant, needs to respond to the social need. And I think then apart from the relevancy, then we need to create impact. And today's session, I think the innovation concerns President Boon mentioned about how can we inject the innovation into our research, and in another way, perhaps how can we turn our research into innovation. Today's session, the first session, we have 4 key speakers. They are all from renowned universities, and I would like to introduce you to all the panelists here. The first person is Professor Chu Yu from the Harbin Institute of Technology. Please come forward. The second panelist is Professor Kazuya Masu, the president from TIT, Tokyo. And the third panelist is Professor Amran S. Inan from Koç University, Turkey. And the last panelist here is Professor Mahmoud Nili Ahmadabai from University of Tehran. Please come forward. As we have here 4 renowned speakers, and each person has vast experiences concerned with research and innovation. How can we turn research into innovation, or how each university injects the innovation into their research? I think this is a very interesting topic. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite the first speaker, Professor Chu Yu. Please.
Firstly, congratulations to the AIT for the 60th anniversary. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to have an introduction about our university. How to have the cooperation with the industry and with companies. Okay? Okay? Oh, okay. 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 My presentation is a mention. 用这个吧。Sorry, I should use this microphone. Okay. The function of university is education and research, the service and culture inheritance and international cooperation now. And today, I mainly the social society is the service, this part. And mainly, I want to introduce how the university to have the cooperation with the industry and companies. Harbin Institute of Technology was founded in the 1920s. At that time, in order to train the engineer for the Middle East Railway, it was founded in the 1920s. And at the end of the 1950s, the university focused on the service for the national aerospace engineering. And also in the at the beginning of the 1950s, become higher education models learned from Russia education system. And another one is China Renmin universities. And we have 3 campuses now. In Harbin, the main campus in Harbin, and also we have a branch campus in the Weihai city, located in the Shandong province. And also we have Shenzhen campus in the Guangdong province. And these 3 campuses in the Harbin, the student numbers and the faculty numbers, and the Weihai and Shenzhen campus. And in the 1965, in the 1960s, and our university is the first year of the China aerospace in order to the response to the call of the state. HIT opened a number of the new majors related to the aerospace. And also in the 1987, we set up the first aerospace school in the China universities. And also, we are mainly, it serves on the aerospace engineering and running the university oriented on the nation's need. This is alumni in the aerospace industry. You know, Sun Jiadong is the Republic medals, get Republic medals in the last year in the 60 years anniversary of the Republic of China. And also, a lot of alumni become a governor of the Guangdong province and the Hunan province. It's only from the aerospace engineering company in China. And the universities is really strong in the engineering. We are not so strong science disciplines, and also we have not so strong the humanity and the social science. You know, the U.S. news ranking, the university rankings, yesterday I read nearly the U.S. news rankings for the global best university for engineering. Also, we're still ranking number 6. And firstly, the before last 2 years we ranking number 7, and the last 2 years we ranking number 6, and 20 is also we are ranking number 6. Of course, the Tsinghua University is advanced in our universities. Ranking number 1 or number 2 is competitive with MIT. And we have a lot of the projects. For example, for advanced technology, for microsatellite platform and space, and the mini, the political technologies, and microsatellite, Earth, laser, is communications, and so on. And also we have several cooperation models with the company, and one is industry, academic research innovation alliance, and joint laboratories and industry, the technology research institute. We set up several research institutes in the local region and in the many provinces of the China. And in the northeast and in the Bohai, and we set up several research institutes. It's Zhangjiagang and Wuhu, Wuxi, and Yixing and Qingdao, and also Anshan in the Liaoning province. And also we set up the Industrial Technology Research Institute in the Heilongjiang province, in our local province. Its research fundings. It's the last decade is the research fundings of universities is vastly increased, and last year it's near 4 billion, and half of them, more than half of them, it comes from the industry, from the company, and another half from the government funding project. And also features of the HIT. We are from 1960s. We are focused on aerospace engineering for developing our engineering, because microsatellite is a project. This project need a lot of disciplines, need materials, manufacturing, computers, mechanics, and a lot of the disciplines working together for the microsatellite. So from the 2004, we are launched my first as a microsatellite. To this year, we are launched 10 times, 19 microsatellite. This is the one launching. It's 5 microsatellite, and this is also 5 microsatellite. And also we have the Longjiang number 1 and the number 2 is at the same time the 2 microsatellite. And we become a first university to send the microsatellite to the moon. It's for flying for 5 days, first running the Earth, and then transfer from Earth orbit to the moon orbit, and act the point 2, and nearer to the moon, and stop decreased speed, and was catched by the moon. And then we rounding the moon. This is Science published our result. This is the Earth, this is the moon, because the rounding the moon is the large, moon, Earth is small. These pictures taken by our student. The student international work for the measuring and the communication of this microsatellite. And also in this 19 microsatellite, and the Lelico 1 and the Lelico 2 is designed and manufactured fully by our students, not by teachers. So we have local club is consisted of the undergraduate student, the master student, and the doctor student. And the running is the members. Is some members graduate, go to the society, and some new freshmen in it. Our teachers, they were student teachings not only is listen to the courses in the classroom and the blackboard, and also learn is ability, engineering ability after teachers' research activities. So we are research education, research training of the practical design training our students. And it's a lot of projects for the manned space engineering and the lunar exploration project. Because of the time limit, I brief give introduction. And also, we have a robot company, a robot discipline is very strong. In China, national key laboratories, about robot national key laboratories, I have the two laboratories. One is in Shenyang, it's Automated Control Research Institute and the Chinese Academy of Science. And another one is the key laboratories of nationals located in the Harbin Institute of Technology. We are the earliest to research robot in the China higher education.
Professor Chu,
Okay,
2 more minutes.
okay.
Time run out.
And it's our two students make a company, a spin-off. Is is the Pyeongchang Winter Game Olympics. Finally, is the Beijing 8 minutes performance. Is our student making is a robot. It has the performance in the Beijing 8 minutes in the Pyeongchang Winter Game Olympics. And we have a lot of heavy industry manufacturing equipment and with a lot of industry. And the National Offshore Oil Corporation. And also we have some, the target is a world-class university. So firstly, not only needed national requirement, but also we serve in the world. So we have program of Belt and Road to train the student program. And also, we have found up a new institute for the new energy research. And also we have a project, we joined the Arctic as a union. It's conclusions, because maybe I over the time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Chu. And the next speaker will be Professor Kazuya Matsu, the president of TIT. So please, President.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Matsu from Tokyo Institute of Technology, Tokyo Tech from Japan. Our Tokyo Tech is a leading national university focused on science and technology, and the number of the students is around 10,000. Half of them are the undergraduates, and half of them are graduate students. 1,500 students are PhD students. The number of the faculty is around 10,000. Okay. This is our university's overview, and today I have prepared 3 items. One is education with Thai universities. Second one is I will emphasize the importance of the liberal arts education even in science and technology education. Third one is I would like to emphasize the importance of depicting the future by ourselves. So, but the time is limited. I skipped the first one, first items, Thailand, Tokyo Tech and Thailand University collaboration in education. The second item, I would like to emphasize the importance of the liberal arts. In 2016, our Tokyo Tech reformed our education program, and we introduced the liberal arts education even into the graduate level. Usually, a liberal arts education is given to undergraduate level, but we introduced the liberal arts education in the graduate level, especially in PhD level. One feature of activities is workshop-style discussion. PhD students, 4 PhD students makes one team. In our university, the 25% of PhD students is coming from abroad. So one team has 1 foreign student. And they are given to discuss the theme like SDG. Last semester's topics is how to tackle the water problem. So during one semester, 4 students of one group discuss how they tackle with water problem. The students from various fields, fundamental science, mathematics or physics or chemistry, and material science, WE, and information science, something like that. I think it's a very tough work for them because their professional field is different to each other. But after one semester, they have to present their discussions how to tackle with the water problem. But when there is a poster presentations, there are around 30 or 40 posters that made by that is based on the discussion of teams. The poster presentation is very, very interesting, and in some cases we can find some future research topics from their poster presentations. It's very, very important. Now let's move to the another PhD education activities that were started this April. This is very similar activities of MIT practice school. We are now emphasizing the information or data science even in the material students. Okay, material PhD students have to learn data science, big data analysis for 3 months, and then 8 material PhD students went to Asahi Kasei. Do you know Asahi Kasei? No. This year, Nobel, one of the Nobel laureates in chemistry is the Dr. Yoshino, who developed the lithium-ion battery. Yoshino-san is in Asahi Kasei. Okay. So anyway, 8 people went to Asahi Kasei, and Asahi Kasei gives how to increase the yield or how to reduce the defective product from their realistic production data. And students tackle with big data, using big data, how to increase the yield or how to reduce the defective products. After 8 weeks, they have to propose how to improve the yield or how to reduce the defective products based on their analysis. Okay, so it's very interesting. the students can know the realistic problem in the industry, or they can know the realistic data. And furthermore, industry can receive the fresh and new ideas to improve the yield or reduce the defective products. This is a very good trial to collaborative education in the PhD level. Okay. The third topic is we means university has to detect the future by ourselves. In order to that, we have organized a design laboratory in our university last year. In design laboratory, there are our faculty, our students, experts in the outside of universities to discuss what kind of future we can expect from the based on the science and technology. So there are very personal discussions among them, and there are 2 or 3 workshops. We have 2 or 3 workshops. But at the present time, now we are summarizing the big discussions, and we are preparing the roadmap to the future. And we open our own roadmap next January. Please come to our universities in January. We can explain how we depict the future based on the science and technology. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Professor Masu. We will come back to the Q&A after the panelists have all given their talk. So the next panelist is Professor Amran from Koch University. Please, Professor.
Thank you very much. I am very pleased to be here, and I thank President Woon for inviting me. I'm absolutely amazed by AIT and what it has accomplished with so few students in this marvelous campus. My campus is also very good and beautiful. I should say I have 7,000 students, 600 PhD students, a comprehensive university that is very much a research university. So the question for our panel is what did you do, or what are you doing, what can universities do to introduce innovation in research for social impact? There's a social impact part of the sentence. Now, it's a very interesting question because it assumes that university administrators can do a lot, whereas there's a conflict there in the sense that in my university, when I hire outstanding people, faculty members, with the highest criteria for selection, unrelenting criteria for selecting the very best, then my instinct is to not govern. My instinct is to not tell them what to do. And students, the same thing. When we get outstanding students, we can't do anything as university administrators to introduce innovation. The only thing we can do is to create a free environment and protect that free environment at all costs. And basically prevent ourselves from showing them the paths and the roads to follow, so that the new people that we have hired, these people who are brighter than us, can actually find their own ways, and then we facilitate them to run in the directions that they want to run. So this is a very interesting question because it also has to do with the pursuit of the known unknowns versus unknown unknowns. And it's also the difference between R&D. Many people in my country, many universities and industries, talk about doing R&D, but they are really doing D. They are not doing R. They have a list of unknowns. the known unknowns. They come to the university and they say, where is your expertise? They try to match these list of unknowns with the list of expertise. I can do that in my sleep, but nothing will come out of it. No disruptive, no new innovation will come out of it. So the first thing we need to tell our students and teach our students is how to be interdisciplinary. I completely agree with liberal arts. We have liberal arts in our core at Koç University because we don't know the tomorrows. So university education must be preparing them with the in a broad way, not in a focused way. So liberal arts helps that. But it also helps to have an interdisciplinary excellence across the board so the students can sample through and show us the path. I look at university education as a rendezvous, as an appointment between generations. In this appointment, we have just as much to learn from the bright young students and faculty as much to teach them. It's very important. Time is going very fast. I teach Physics 101 right now, 150 students. I learn from them, and I teach them too. I hope they learn from me too, but I learn from them. It's very important. The most naive people, the ones that know the least, ask the most disruptive questions, out of which come the most important applications. We need to teach our students serendipity. Nobody knows serendipity. Serendipity is the pursuit of the unknown unknown. In other words, you're doing something and then you find something else. Industry needs to learn that true R, comes through seed research, where you don't define the topic. You don't say, this is the topic, who is going to work on it? Because once you have said it, you have completely stopped innovation. There's no innovation because you've defined the topic. Because we will kill ourselves if we don't do curiosity-driven research. That's why social impact to me looks like a distortion of our mission at universities. When universities begin to think of, let me do something for social impact, oh, I'm in an ivory tower, I'm not helping society that much, that distorts the mission, because the university should unrelentingly pursue the unknown unknowns, out of which should come the unexpected, the most unexpected discoveries that will help of society, of course, in the most unexpected, undefinable right now by you or me way. This is very important. Medical research also comes into play here. I have a medical school, and I attach tremendous importance. Every year when I list my priorities, it says integration of the medical school with the rest of the university. Because medical schools are separate entities. They don't know about engineering. But the most important applications in the next 20 years are going to come from the overlaps of medicine with engineering, medicine with science, medicine with social science, medicine with law. What do you do to a person who is 95 years old about to die is an enormous budgetary decision and human decision that a society has to make. So these are issues where integration of the medical schools, for example, right now at my university somebody is working on macular degeneration, and with an engineering school and an eye doctor collaborating on generating artificial retina to solve macular degeneration in an extremely innovative way. That they came up with it. I certainly didn't tell them what it is to do. I would never be able to. But I created the environment in which they were able to think this way. They were able to pursue their curiosity. So let's stick to curiosity-driven research. Let's not distort the university research into these popular societal problem areas, because then we'll kill ourselves and not discover the cure for cancer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Amran has given us lots of thoughts about the role of university, whether we should be focusing on just responding to the social need versus the curiosity, which is the role of university in the past. And Nowadays, we are perhaps trapped in some particular correspondence opinion and asking for the response from the university. And our next panelist is Professor Ahmadabadi and from University of Tehran. So please, President.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and let me once again congratulate the 60th anniversary of AIT, and thanks President Dr. Woon to invite me to be in the passionate and very informative events. I'm Neeli, maybe Ahmadabad is long, Neeli is easier. And I'm from University of Tehran. University of Tehran, his history gets back to 165 years ago. And now we have more than 40,000 students. About 65% of the students are graduates. It means you give a very good opportunity to do research. As focusing on the topics of this conference, I would like to explain the main plan at our university, and it is very important to us that we make an integrated and coordinated programs and link everything together to make sure that our plan is going to in practice and implemented. Therefore, we define a 5-year plan which are internationalization and promoting the international status of the university, transforming to an innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial university, professional ethic and social responsibility, which two performance are crucial. One is green university and the other is social impact. In fact, University of Tehran, because of long history, has important social impact in the different areas, in the social, technical, medical, but to enhance and promote this social impact, first of all, we revise the regulations at the university to encourage the faculty members to mostly focus on the social impacts of their activity. And one of the key issue in this case is to interdisciplinary. Since the social impact increase in several orders when the interdisciplinary is going to be done, individual research may lead to some papers, but when we want to implement the research, a group of the different disciplines should come together. And to do this, we announced several main topics at the university which receive more support with university if a group works in on these topics. These are health, natural disaster like as earthquake and flood, water, energy, social harm, climate change, cybernetic and virtual space, biotechnology, nutrition and food safety. In addition, we consider as well the Industry 4 topics, which we think is shaping the future of the human being, in particular in the technology, such as robotic, artificial intelligence, cognitive and nanotechnology, quantum computing, the Internet of Things, IoT, big data, and advanced materials. One of other issue is how to attract the industry and society for collaboration with the university, how we get more fund and how implement the result of research. To do this, we established several joint research institute with the industry, which is mainly funded by the industry, and a joint board of trustees by the university and industry and other big Iranian organizations. The main topics of this institute is about energy, water, NBIC, nano bioinformation and cognitive, biomaterial, brain mapping are these topics which is co-founded by industry and university. The social impacts also should be considered in education. Therefore, it's very important that the student from the beginning to be familiar with the social impacts of the activity, and we suppose that the soft skills is very important to the students to be more involved in the social impact. Therefore, we define a major and minor program for a student, and since we are a comprehensive university, therefore the student has a chance to select a minor from other disciplines. For example, if an engineering student select a minor in finance, economic, and entrepreneurship, it means that it will be ready to be more better communicated with the society, and this multidisciplinary cognition will help him and the university for higher social impact. And because of importance of entrepreneurship, about 12 years ago, the university has established an entrepreneur faculty to be involved, not only research but also education. Just as an example, I would like to say one example which is very important for us, for example, maybe important for Asia, is using machine learning. I say that as an example, using machine learning, deep learning, and mobile phones as chip sensor to detect earthquakes and initiative warning. You know, Iran has a heavy earthquake, and it's common in the Asia. Therefore, by using AI and big data, we suppose that we have an initiative warning. This could be also used for a flood. Another infrastructure is having a HPC infrastructure, since AI is very related to the big data, and it needs a HPC infrastructure, and now we have established the largest HPC cluster at the country. It's not only for the university, also will be give services to the country. And as a conclusion, I think you see that the interdisciplinary and networking is very crucial. It's not means that it could be limited in the university. It should be between universities and should be beyond the geographic borders. Therefore, I hope that this meeting will help us to increase our networking. And one of the key issues also is data. And each university's data is limited. Therefore, we need the pool of data and sharing the data. This will help us to be more effective, and the result will have impact on not only our society but also when we are talking about Asia, it will be helpful for the whole of Asia. Therefore, I hope that this conference could increase our networking and collaboration between the different universities in this region. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Professor Nili. I think we have listened to the 4 speakers already. It seems to me that one word or 2 words come to me, which is the sharing the common direction of each university, is that we have listened to the transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary coming into place, or liberal arts, as Professor Masu mentioned. And this is perhaps the trend into the future. And perhaps the discussion among students or together with professors create new direction, some innovation. And that is some interesting point from the panelists. I think we have 10 more minutes left. And we have 2 microphones on each side. If somebody would like to ask some questions to the panelists, please come forward to to the microphone on each side. If any one of you would like to give some question to the speakers, please, Ms. Anna, on this side perhaps.
I'm Anna Lim from Isho University in Taiwan. I have a question for President Inan from Tohoku University. Obviously, to work under your leadership in a private university, it must really be a happy place and lots of institutional autonomy. And also, what you implied is that when there is academic freedom, gradually it will bring in local relevance. And then I just wonder, because my research is about higher education and about the relationship between university and government, and from what I can tell from you is at institutional level, the lots of autonomy there. What about at the system level? How does the government support the private university in Turkey? And also, on the other hand, like whether the government intervenes the university operation over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The foundation. In Turkey, there are two kinds of universities: state universities and foundation universities. Foundation universities are by constitutional order need to be non-profit, and they receive zero support from the government financially, but they can competitively acquire scientific funding from the government. The Turkish National and Scientific Technical Society, for example, the Turkish NSF, and my university receives the most funding from that institution because competitively our faculty members are very competitive. From the point of view of relationships with the government, we have had no infringement or direction or misdirection into our research. Our research in technical areas or social areas or administrative sciences or political sciences are not interfered by the government where I operate. And students, by the way, I very much appreciated what my colleague said about double majors, because I have made double majoring at my university and extremely free and easy. In fact, I give students 1 more year of scholarship if they double major. As a result, this past June, when the students graduated, about 1,000 students, 30% of them were double majors. So you had engineers double majoring in psychology, engineers double majoring in political science, and extending themselves in a more, broad way to the society is very, very important. But no, a private university, in terms of our operations, we are funded by a foundation. The foundation covers our deficit. My university has a 30% deficit. It not only doesn't do profit, it actually loses money. But fortunately, we have a foundation that covers that. No inhibition to what I wanted to do or what my faculty wanted to do from the government.
Oh, that's really nice. We hope that we have a chance to visit your university and learn from you. We have private university as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some more questions? While we are waiting, I would like to ask Professor Matsu about the introduction of liberal arts into PhD. And you mentioned that you ask for students to form a team. Are they all from the same discipline? No. Right? Please elaborate it a little bit.
As I explained in my presentation, one team consists of 4 students. Their major is different each other, and furthermore multicultural. So interdisciplinary, multicultural students consist of the one team. So I think it is very hard for them to discuss. At first stage, their language, even they use the Japanese, the culture is very different. So there is no conversation even in Japanese students group. But furthermore, now I emphasize here, the students must get the liberal arts unit, but some professor doesn't like liberal arts education in PhD because a professor wants students to concentrate on their own research work. So it is my work to change their mind.
So it requires lots of transformation and change of mindset, especially of professors. So, Professor Chu?
I'm very interested in these questions. I'm at technology universities. Recent years, the many technology universities also developed the liberal arts. There is always argue between the general education and special education, because our universities really specialized education for the engineering, and many people ask me, you should develop your liberal arts with a combination and a comprehensive training for the talents. How do you think about this balance point we take? So my opinion, I think we are training as an expert, but they should broaden their knowledge and liberal arts and music and so on. But finally, they should become a scientist, engineer to solve problems during the engineering and so on. It's my opinion. I'm really confused with this situation is changed.
This, at a technological university, you have a very good question, but even at a technological university, and maybe even more so at a technological university, you need to broaden their mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the thing that I think, having spent a lot of time in the United States, sometimes I think that the creation and innovation in the United States comes from, at the middle school, high school, and university level, not being so focused. Because if they are focused, they can't ask the question. The engineer can do the problem that you taught him to do, but he cannot innovate unless he can think broadly. So for him to think broadly, he can take a few less courses in whatever it is, thermodynamics or whatever. He doesn't have to take 3. He took 1 and 2, you know, and just take some philosophy so he can step back from it and think. This is what you need to do.
The engineer should be, some arts, some music.
Faculty is our biggest enemy. I agree with you. The faculty are going to be really resisting this, so you have to work very hard with the faculty.
Yep. Professor Neely, would you like to share with it?
Then experience. We compare the students who are living in the dormitory or living in the house. Those who are living in the dormitories, since they share the room with the other disciplines, we found them they are more innovative and entrepreneurship than those who are living in the houses. So it's a very simple example, and if we make it as a part of the system, of course it works better and more innovative students.
So, President Woon?
Yeah, in a perfect world, I would love to be Koch University. But I think that in the modern world today, you either have public universities under tremendous pressure from governments and taxpayers on having your research pay some dividends, and unfortunately they want dividends sooner rather than later. Or if you're a small university with financial constraints like AIT, we really have to focus a lot on applied research and social impact. And I say that because my PhD is in pure mathematics, and I love to do things like that, which is purely curiosity driven, and whether or not it has any use is another matter. But unfortunately, at AIT or at many universities around the world, you don't have that luxury. So my question is, how do you, what incentives do you use? Maybe this is for Tehran or for some others or HIT. How do you, what kind of incentives do you use to, you know, sort of entice and persuade the faculty to work together in an interdisciplinary manner, or somebody who is so far out in some leading edge technology to step back and look at how some of the applications could actually use his technology? How do you encourage that, and what measures do you use without, you know, being really top down, which, as you know, of course, cannot be done in a university?
President Lee?
Of course, it has not a straight reply or answer, but the first ecosystem should be changed. The value at the university should be changed. We're mainly focusing on the papers and the fundamental research. But when we're talking about social impact, it means that the fundamental research should be applied. Therefore, ecosystem is going to be changed. And as I mentioned, the regulation and the financial support for research by the university policy has been changed. We put more support for those researches which are interdisciplinary. And in the promotion case also, those who have a more social impact are more appreciated and could easier get the promotion easier than those only focusing on the basics. It does not mean that we are going to forget about the basic science, since the basic science is the basic for everything. We should not forget, but we just to make a link between every different part of university. I always call to my colleagues and faculty members that think why we are sitting in the one university, why we have different departments at the university. It does not mean we encourage individuals, but it means everybody is focusing on the one discipline, but we are sitting together and we are make a new funding by work together. Therefore, as a top, it should be top down and bottom up. It could not be focusing on the top down. And we should receive the support from the faculty members, and the mentals should be changed.
Professor Wood made it sound as if the research at Koç University is all being funded by Koç University and it's a pleasant place. It's not. 80% of the research at Koç University is competitively funded from outside, either by the Turkish government agencies or by European governments. And 1/3 of all funding that comes to the country of Turkey from Europe comes to Koç University. And you don't think Europe should fund curiosity-driven research. So my faculty are going to Europe competitively in that vicious environment of saying application, getting funding. So the method is in selection of faculty and selecting them and rewarding them based on basic research publications rather than patents, for example, based on PhD student production and such. And then if you put that as your threshold, then they must do or they don't exist at your university. They must do R, not D. That's the way to do it, not to fund it. Of course, nobody can fund research. It's not a pleasant place that way. But free environment and high criteria with peer reviews from outside letters is what does it. Because then he is only measured by his scholarly output, publications. The amount of funding that he brings or she brings is not even in the evaluation criteria. We don't have that in there. Only publications, citations. So then he has to do R. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Professor Masood.
The last things I want to say is here is Umang Sensei says that the curiosity is very important for research. Of course, our university is a research university, so I want to keep the curiosity is important. And further, finally, I want to emphasize again the interdisciplinary is origin of innovation. Yes. Yeah, that's my last word.
Professor Chu?
Yeah, our university is very special university. We really have a very close relationship between the company and our fundings. More than half from the company and the industry, and another half from the government defense project. So now, C9 universities in China, the other 7 universities all go to the comprehensive. But how to do with our universities? So now we are confused. Now in the science and technology of China and HIT, now is not comprehensive now. So we have to move to our goal to go to the world leading universities. In the different ranking system, the comprehensive university is benefit for the ranking, I think. Somebody can publish papers, but a lot of faculties cannot publish papers. Only even if can make microsatellites, can make a lot of components. So next we want to go to pay more attention developing our science and go to basic research. We want to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Since we have run out of time, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists here, and I'm sure that you all find this session very interesting. So please join me to give a big round of applause. So thank you very much.
Okay, where are we on the... Thank you very much. Thank you.
We will have a half an hour coffee break, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. See you at the next session. We only have 2 sessions, and the first of the 2 sessions will investigate, because one of the topics that people talk about all the time in universities, especially in the administration office, is really globalization, internationalization. And so this particular session and the speakers will talk about how globalization and internationalization and partnerships, a system in social impact type research. Partnerships could be with NGOs, could be with governments, could be with international organizations, of course, could be with universities. So in order to chair this session, I have asked my friend, old friend, Professor Dennis Simon, who is a Vice Chancellor at Duke Kunshan in China,
Duke University, Quinsan. And he'll come up, and with the speakers for this session, please come up with him and have a seat, and then we'll get started with Dennis introducing them, and away we go. Okay, Dennis.
Okay. Thank you again all for coming, and let me also offer my congratulations to AIT on its 60th anniversary. It's wonderful to be here, and so far it's been a great event. So I thank everyone who has worked so hard to make us feel welcome and make us feel a part of the ceremony and part of the AIT family. So thank you all to everyone. Let me just take a minute, and I'll introduce each of our speakers, and I'm going to ask each of them, since we have 5 presentations, to really stick to somewhere about 8 minutes in their presentation. And I've moved the chairman's chair right over here, so I can be very, very strict in terms of keeping time. So I want to allow us, since the discussion last session was so rich and so entertaining for everyone, I want to make sure we have enough time for our session. So the first, again, just to take a stand, the first speaker I want to introduce is Julia Buckingham from Brunel University in London. Okay, great. Okay. Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Kil Chu Moon, who's the president of the University of Science and Technology in Korea. Our third speaker will be Ram Kantha Maku Shrestha, who's the Vice Chancellor at Kathmandu University. Our fourth speaker will be Professor Hideo Ono, who's the President of Tohoku University. And then finally, our last speaker will be Professor Mohamed Moutalib, who's the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Petronas. So Eden asked me to make a few comments since I've been in this internationalization game for over 3 decades, and I've actually held the position twice of Vice Provost for International Affairs at 2 major universities, and have been heavily involved in creating not only partnerships but also working with the Institute of International Education out of New York, which is a really great organization for helping to orchestrate the partnerships for universities in the United States with overseas universities. So let me give what I would call a couple rules of the road that I think I've discovered in these 30-plus years that I think might provide some guidance and raise some interesting issues in our discussion. The first thing that we learned is that quality is much more important than quantity. A lot of universities end up signing lots of MOUs, and most of those MOUs never get implemented. In many cases, less is more, particularly if you find 3, 4, or 5 really substantive relationships that yield benefits to both partners. And so sometimes it's not important what you do, but it's also important what you don't do. And therefore, unless there's a really good rationale, it probably doesn't pay to sign just another MOU. The second thing I've learned is that no matter what I might do as a vice provost, or even what the provost might do to initiate or inaugurate one of these partnerships, the reality is that if there's no faculty champion or champions behind these partnerships will not survive. In many cases, you have universities in the United States and around the world. The faculty is very international. They travel around the world, they go to conferences, etc., but they do so as lone rangers on their own. And they really don't do these activities carrying the institutional flag of the university. And I think this is very, very important, that we don't confuse the fact that lots of faculty traveling around the world doesn't make for successful internationalization for the university. The university must have both a domestic component of internationalization on the home campus as well as an external dimension for internationalization. It's very important to encourage academic entrepreneurship, but it's also very important, again, to sustain and support the institutional flag of the university. The third thing is finding the right partner. The right partner in the right location may seem like a simple, obvious thing, but sometimes universities what I call follow the money. Somebody dangles some money out in front of you, and it looks like, wow, there's a lot of money here, let's run after it. But the reality is that may make for the worst partnership possible. Only follow what is materially relevant and useful to your university in order to find a basis for sustaining that over time. Most of the time, you should evaluate these things using a 3-year rolling average. 1 year is too short, 5 years may be too long, maybe 3 years is good enough in terms of having some kind of way to determine to keep doing something or to stop doing something that you already have in place. The fourth thing I want to raise is the use of technology. The use of technology right now is just, I'm underwhelmed by the degree to which we do not deploy technology in order to help sustain and support university internationalization. We have some really excellent technologies out there, technology by Cisco called telepresence and other kinds of technologies that can aid us in doing much more integrated learning, particularly when you're talking in a space like the Asia-Pacific region, where most of the countries are approximately in the same time zone, and there's only vertical distance, not time distance separating them. We ought to be able to deploy more technology to have mixed classes with professors in 1, 2, 3 different countries teaching a course and bringing in this global perspective into the classroom on an ongoing basis. The fifth thing I want to talk about is objectives. I do a joint venture university in China. And in China, we have a saying about joint ventures, whether they're in business or in education, that sometimes if you're not careful, it can be like sleeping in the same bed, but with 2 different dreams. And in many cases, sometimes collaboration between partners in education end up being exactly that. One university wants money and revenue from tuition from international students, and the other university wants access to research and IP and high talented professors. And the two just don't meet. And they end up having either a failed partnership or they end up having conflict with one another. And so it's very, very important to make sure that the objectives are common objectives. Don't assume the objectives are the same. Make sure they are, document them, and then go ahead with implementation. The next thing I want to talk about quickly is public-private partnerships. I think these also are something that's highly underutilized, particularly in today's world. Universities are striving all the time to prove their value to their regional or national community, and particularly if they're public universities. It is very, very important to harness the support of government when and where possible. Sometimes it can be financial support, but sometimes it can just be facilitation. Facilitation on visas, facilitation in terms of even altering some of the existing laws and regulations that exist in order to make something easier to happen. The sixth thing I want to talk about is activist leadership. In order to make globalization really work at your university, there must be a compelling vision at the highest levels of the leadership. Without that compelling vision that infiltrates through the ranks of the staff and across the various departments and divisions in the university, globalization is not going to be sustainable over time. The leadership must make a pronouncement that is dramatic and clear about the intention of the university. And as we heard in the previous session, the criteria for evaluating faculty must include their participation in globally oriented activities and that they're given credit for these activities when it comes time for tenure or promotion review, etc. If these things don't happen, they get paid lip service and basically nothing happens across the university. So this is another important thing to consider. And frankly, the last thing I want to talk about is growth. We can't have a stagnant set of relationships. Once you get a couple of these, you just let them go until they become dormant. You must constantly revitalize, replace, and subordinate some of these relationships with new ones. You must keep them alive, and you must nurture them so they can stay sustainable over time. Don't let them get boring. The worst thing to have is a globalization plan that is boring. And so what I'm sort of suggesting here is that this is all part, not only the strategic thinking of the university, but also the total vision that the university has for its role in the world. And today, there's no more important time than for universities to play these global roles. Many of the things that we assume to be true from the 80s and 90s right now in 2019 are not necessarily true. The commitment to global values, the global collaboration, cross-border movement of people, these things are under attack right now. And so universities have a very vital role to play in helping us move this agenda forward. So I hope this provides a little bit of a backdrop for our speakers, and so it'll give us something to think about, particularly when we come to the Q&A. Thank you very much, and let me ask Julia to come to the podium.
Thanks very much, Dennis. And I have to say, it's an enormous pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to everyone at AIT for putting on this fantastic occasion for us. And again, my congratulations on your 60th birthday. I take Dennis's points about MOUs and collaborations very, very seriously. I was delighted yesterday that I signed an MOU with Eden for collaborative venture between our two universities, and I absolutely believe that you have to work at it to make it work. That's what I intend doing, and I know that's what Eden intends doing. Now, let me just start by saying a little bit about my university. I just tell you our mission because I think it gels rather well with what we're talking about today, and it is to bring benefit to society. And I say that in the broadest possible way, whether it's economic, whether it's social, whether it's cultural. That is what we're here to do, and we do it by educating our students as well as we possibly can, and by delivering research, which we also think will bring benefit, of course doing other things in the community, etc. Now, I'm going to talk predominantly about research and the way in which we approach that, and I'm going to illustrate it further on in the talk with three examples, one from each of our three interdisciplinary research institutes. And the way we've organized our research in Brunel to enable us to bring people from different disciplines together is not to set up huge structures. Our academics live in academic departments, but we have these virtual institutes which are led and managed, which enable people from right across the university to come together in areas of interest to work on multidisciplinary projects. They may work in 2 or even 3 of the institutes, depending on what it looks like, but it's a structure to get people together. So they are focused on energy futures, materials and manufacturing, and environment, health and society. And of course, all of those have the potential for enormous social impact. Universities in the UK don't get any gift bags in terms of research funding. We are very dependent on going out and getting our own research funding. It may come from government, it may come from charities, and we have fantastic charities in the UK that support research, or of course it may come from industry, and it may come through partnerships. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about the research ecosystem in the UK and what we try to do as universities to make sure that the government is very positive about research, and also it recognizes the international component of research. And we as academics, of course, regard research as an international endeavor, not a UK endeavor or a Brunel endeavor. Research is international and it should know no boundaries. There we go. So these are all the players that we play with as universities to try and influence our research funding. So we're sitting in the middle, and of course a big player is our government, and the government determines the research policy in terms of where the government puts its money, and of course it also has the treasury, and that has the money. So we as universities, working with professional bodies, with the academies, etc., spend a lot of time talking to government about how important research is and where they think they ought to be putting their money. Then we have the research funders. We have government funding, and we have big research charities like the Wellcome Trust and the Wolfram Foundation. We talk to them a lot, and we try and help them shape their policies. It's a two-way communication. And of course, we talk to the multinationals, the SMEs, and the not-for-profits, and find better ways in which universities can work with them effectively to enable them to deliver their mission. And then, very importantly, we have the global side of things. Now, I don't want to mention Brexit because it's very, very painful as someone who's British, but we have enjoyed over the last 30 years the most fantastic relationship with Europe, and it's really enabled us to spread our research right out into Europe and for mainland Europeans to come and work with us in a completely free and easy way. And it's been absolutely wonderful. My fingers are crossed that that goes on. But of course, we don't just work with Europe, we work with people right across the world. And finding ways to relate to what is happening in other countries is a very critical part of this ecosystem. And our government talks directly to other governments, and it finds ways of putting funding into specific areas. So, for example, we have a Global Challenges Research Fund in the UK, which is managed by our research councils. But the funding is negotiated with the countries that we're working on. So I, as an academic, can go to, say, China or India or somewhere. I can go and meet in my embassy, and they will introduce me to potential partners. So it's a really fantastic way of getting internationalization going, as well, of course, as the many conferences we all go to, and the fact we've all got enormous global networks anyway. But it's a very helpful structure. And really, everybody talks to everybody else in that infrastructure, and I genuinely think it works quite well. Not always, but quite well. So let me just illustrate three of our big projects. This is one which is focused around sustainable energy use in food production. We call it our Gate to Plate project, and it looks at energy uses at every single stage in the food production cycle, right the way through from the time it's collected through to on the plate and the waste afterwards. Now, we are a national centre, and this is a partnership with two other UK universities, but it is much, much more than that. This team work with universities right across the world. So they're looking at things like how you process food, how you dry tomatoes, they look at refrigeration, they look at transport, they look at every energy requiring process within that whole cycle, and then they look at the recycling. But very importantly, this is a truly interdisciplinary project. This isn't just an engineering project. These engineers work very closely with our lawyers, with our business school, with our psychologists, with our social scientists, to understand how changes that are being introduced impact on society as a whole. 2 minutes. This is a very different project. This is in our Metals Research Park, and these people are looking at how we can recycle metals, so we aren't dependent on drawing metals from the ground. And their work, these people are making very lightweight alloys for aircraft and cars, etc. Again, this is a massive international project. It started at Brunel, I'm proud to say, but this involves partnerships in China, in Malaysia, in Australia, in India, and South America. Again, it is very, very multidisciplinary. Funded partly by our country, but as I said, massive international funding. And the last one is a health project, and this, I suspect, is a problem that many of us have across the world: how not to have too many people in hospital, how to get people living out in their community. And this is a project that we're working with a number of medical centres across the world. We're also working with a big medical trust called IMED Trust, which is interested in how you can deliver healthcare education in the developing world. And we've got a whole range of different things we're looking at. We're looking at how we translate care into the community. We're looking at patient-centered care, which brings medical care and social care together, so people are looked after properly in their houses. And we're looking at how we train the workforce of the future, because when medicine moves into the community, we will need a very different type of medical workforce. We will need real teamwork for proper patient-centered care. And to do that, we've got a lot of research focused on digital health, engineering and technology, rehabilitation, and education research. So those are just three examples of the way in which we develop big project and work with people right across the world to try and solve these very important problems.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure for this. I think the innovation coming out truly from the education. No matter what we talk about innovation, the best innovation is education. How we're going to teach for the futures. That's what we aim for our schools for this. Can you imagine what's the number for the 3, 5, 19, except odd numbers? The youngsters will going to be work in their life, 3 different fields, 5 different jobs, and 19 different duties. Because their life expectancy will going to be 120 years from now. In other words, they're going to be work 60 to 70, maybe 80 years. Then now we have to teach them how they're going to be adjust there in life, long span. Can you imagine this? This MIT Media Lab shows that. Right there, when you sleep, your brain works this way. When you're in the classroom, brain just like this. Exactly the same thing when you watch TV, brain like this. That's an experiment. That's the self-work project, homework. So now we try to aim how we can teach them why their brain is working during the school class too. So we have to let them teach, imagine, and think simultaneously during their lectures. I always wishes you think about imagination and thinking simultaneously while I'm talking. Not just listening, not like just watching soap drama on TV. Our scores, well, congratulations, 60th anniversary for AITs. Our score only 16 years old. Maybe I'm the youngest one in here. Who has more innovative ideas, older ones, younger ones? Who will change the words, younger ones or older ones? We just established a school, opened the school 2003. So much different is we working with 32 different national labs in Korea. School and 32 different national labs plus 47 existing domestic schools, including you know that many schools such as like Seoul National, KAIST, all kind of schools. The third one, we got 1,300 faculty members, students similar is like 1,350. And so far, last 15 years, we graduate 2,000 slightly more students. That's the one case. Including only 1,300 students, 67% are Koreans, 33% are from the overseas. Our aim to match 1-to-1, 50% of the Korean, 50% from the overseas. Where are they come from? It's free. Nope. Oh yeah, sorry. This is the country so far, 15 years experience, 61 different nations of students come to our schools. When they coming to our headquarters schools in there, we dispatch them to 32 different national labs. In other words, they are doing the thesis. Oh, by the way, we are only graduate schools, young, bright graduate schools. But they dispatch all to the national lab. They are doing the thesis. And, okay, then headquarters, we are organizing for curriculums. How are going to be curriculums for the futures? After 10 years graduates, they're going to be vital workforce in the societies. So we are teaching for the futures. That's first one. And newcomers orientations. When they're coming in together, graduate students, twice a year, a month, 9 to 5, we oriented, teach exactly same ones together. In there, that's including such as like AIs, moral tests, big data, philosophies, and science histories together, regardless what their field there is. Because we don't know in the future where they're going to be work eventually. And we, after that graduates, we organize alumni associations. And also during the course, before that, we do the international internship program. Let me talk about the school systems. The major different thing is we have more than 200 schools in Korea itself. We specialize somewhat different. That means we do not, existing ordinary university does not have such kind of fields, because we are using with the national labs, because national lab of Korea using big facilities. So most of our majors using the facilities, and usually university doesn't cover the certain department courses, such as like polar studies, that is big ones. The other ones, such as like we are using the giant magnetic telescopic studies, those kind of things, they are working on it together. So that's our major. It's entirely different than ordinary schools. Also, when they do the thesis at the national lab, so they do have experiments at the simultaneously together. So just like proud program is during program, we said somehow we teach differently, unique, and proud things. Three things are major things we are teaching for that. Also, we have a limitation of the classes. In other words, every class has to be more than 6 students in the same time for the graduate students. If we teach very small numbers, such as 3, 4 persons, it's very difficult to teach, give a good lectures. That's one thing. Final products, so far, last 15 years, we point, when they graduate, every student wrote out 3.6 SCI papers plus IPs, more than 2 per individually. The way operate is, when we accept the students, 100% of the students, government Korea gives the scholarships, the scholarship free, plus 2 minutes, yes, I think left on 2 slides. Also, National Lab, they're doing the research, so they paid all their living expenses very well for this. Also, most of them, we are using existing 50 different universities for the teaching. So the final results, we are using government, national lab, existing university, and our headquarters. Our cost is 1/3 of the other universities' education cost is, because we are using existing facilities. In the future, the AI is coming out. We aim for teaching for robot-proof students. Regardless what kind of robot, what kind of AI comes out, they can work in, they can find the jobs, first one. Second, as I told you, we have more than 60 different nations. 1/3 of them are foreigners, so they have a good network programs. Eventually, I want to go to 1-to-1 ratios. Lastly, our schools, so far, we have, here is all white colors, but beyond the white colors is blue colors, but you are teaching students for the new colors, because we don't know what kind of color we're going to become in the future. That's our schools. Oh, finish. Thank you very much for my listening. Thank you. Right on time? Right on time. Is that well?
Thanks so much. Dear President Eden, my dear colleagues, academic leaders from different parts of the world, ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored having me here today. Congratulations to EIT 68th year birthday. Social impact is actually the heart and soul of the university. However, it is common to have scholars sometimes get drifted towards the accolades of academia rather than focusing on the real-world impacts of education. This leads to a situation in countries where those who have the knowledge are not able to implement them, and those who are in the position to implement do not have the knowledge to do it. Although a university less than 3 decades old, Kathmandu University has considered social impact as its central mission, also outlined as an impact initiative in its strategic directions of the Silver Jubilee year 2030. We are pursuing following approaches to accomplish this. First, pedagogical approach. We are making fundamental shift in tailoring our pedagogical approach to more of community and real-world scenario-based settings rather than the traditional classroom teaching. We call it taking classroom from campus to the community. The health sciences programs had pioneered the academic engagement in communities, but now we have expanded it to most of the disciplines where students live and interact with the communities, focusing around special thematic areas of their own programs. This mandates collaborations with local communities, local government, and other key stakeholders. Second, redefining the role of the university to an implementing agency. Historically, universities have been the institutions that generate and disseminate knowledge. However, this is not enough. Waiting for government or other agencies to utilize the knowledge generated from university might lead to disappointingly low utilizations of the knowledge. Hence, we have taken steps to engage university in direct development activities as well. We are currently rebuilding a historical temple and its premise destroyed by the 2015 earthquake to give it a new life and also house our Department of Ethnomusic in it. Our medical school runs a vast network of rural primary healthcare in Nepal, serving almost 100,000 of patients every year. Our schools partners with ministries, industries, and other NGOs in directly implementing programs. One approach we have devised is to identify organizations where a part of our university can be housed for a specific field. Our Institute of Buddhist Studies is housed in a Buddhist monastery. We have adopted government-run hydropower as our wet laboratory for our students. We are continuing to explore more of such partnerships. Third, universities as hubs for consortia and new initiatives. It is impossible to bring changes as a single organization. Hence, we have formed and are also part of various consortia and alliances. KU is an active member of the Himalayan University Consortium that includes almost 60 members from Asia and about 17 associate members from other parts of the world. It is a strong network working on a range of issues in climate change in the region and also promotes creations of centers of excellence in key topics relevant to the region. KU also actively participates in the Asian University Forum, Consortium of University for Global Health, and similar other forums where we build collaborative frameworks to advance research and scholarly activities on topics of mutual understanding. We also participate in joint committees that bring together government representatives, industries, and other stakeholders for cooperation on areas like hydropower, health, education, and business development. As a landmark step, through the project entitled Integrated Rural Development by Strengthening Research Capacity of Kathmandu University, we recently established Nepal Technology Innovation Center at KU that serves as a one-stop platform and a national hub for bringing together national international organizations, startups, investors, policymakers to create research and entrepreneurial opportunities that have direct impact on sustainable community development. These are just some examples of what we have been doing. Let me now spend a few minutes on what else should be done. In a gathering like this, let us make a pledge that as the leaders, we first need to create universities as a bridges between nations and the people. Knowledge has no boundaries, so why should there be boundaries between institutions that generate knowledge? Let us not spend time finding out what differentiates us, but rather focus on what unites us. And if there are issues that hinders forging of these unions, let us sort out them through forums like this. We need to aggressively promote mobility of our staffs and faculty, create provisions of mutually accredited courses, develop joint degrees programs, and jointly create centers of excellence on complex issues. These are not new to the world. The programs like International Space Station, CERN, the European Organizations for Nuclear Research, Erasmus mobility programs are some time-tested examples of various partners working as one entity to solve pertinent problems. Solutions to the problems are best found in the places where the problems lie. So let it be our goal to take our institutions to the places where the problems exist, rather than cherishing the dreams of keeping university as an ivory tower. History will evaluate us not by how much of the world did we bring to our universities, but rather by to what extent we spread our university to the world. The Nobel Prize in Economics this year was awarded to 3 researchers from Harvard and MIT for their groundbreaking works on poverty and policies done in India and other developing countries. I have this fierce dream that in the near future, not only that such groundbreaking works will be done in developing countries, but also such scholars at the programs will be housed in the university in these countries. Almost a century ago, that Thai Prince Maidol said, true success is not in the learning, but in its applications to the benefit of mankind. I believe that sums up all what I have attempted to highlight here. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, congratulations, AIT, for your 60th anniversary. I would like to approach globalization from a rather different angle. So starting from Tohoku University. We are a comprehensive research university, the 3rd oldest national university in Japan, established in 1907. Well, the name Tohoku doesn't appear as a city in a map. It means northeast region of Honshu Island, the main island of Japan. The city we are located at is Sendai, 1 million population, 300 kilometers north of Tokyo, and we are facing at the Pacific Ocean. In 2011, March 11th, a big earthquake hit the region. We lost almost 20,000 people. Most of them actually drowned because of the tsunami after the earthquake. So in that moment, many of our students, faculties, and staff members spontaneously and immediately formed various kinds of projects that to help rebuild the community. And we also, as a university, established an international research center or research organization to tackle disaster science. Well, the reason why we decided to establish such a research institute is because we wanted to make our experience and your experience into science so that we can disseminate what we have found out in this very hard moment of our history. So, well, first of all, we have received actually tremendous help from within the country as well as from the international community. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much indeed for your help. So we were at the beginning, the receiving end of the help, but we wanted, as I said, to make it into science so that everybody else, not just in Japan but globally, can use our knowledge together with your knowledge to prevent this thing to happen. At least we can together reduce the disaster risk. So, toward this end, we did a number of things, like we helped establishing Sendai, a framework for disaster risk reduction, which was established in March 2015. 2015 was a very special year because the same year UN launched SDGs, and also international community agreed on Paris Agreement. These three frameworks or actions are overlapping each other, but they are tackling the societal and social issues of our age. Along the line of the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, we teamed up with UNDP to establish a global global center for disaster statistics. The economic impact of this 2011 earthquake was $360 billion. But this number varies actually because we do not have a uniform way of calculating the disaster damage. So one purpose of this collaboration with UNDP and Tohoku University, this Global Center for Disaster Statistics, is to establish how we calculate and estimate the damage that we get on those disasters so that we can compare and also learn about the experience we had. We also established a summer school on multi-hazard disasters, and there are many students as well as staff members from mostly from the Pacific Rim universities, research universities. They come to us and share their experience with us so that we can be prepared for next disaster that takes place, that will take place at any moment. We also tried to establish some technology like tsunami. We can now predict how far tsunami goes in what time within 30 minutes of an earthquake. And we have contracted out to the government through our startup that we will provide this information 30 minutes after earthquake. The thing that we haven't been able to do so far is to provide people the escape routes. Escape routes is a multi component optimization problem, and that is not easily tackled by current technology. So we will probably use quantum annealing or some other optimization techniques in order to provide these routes. It's also a very societal problem in a sense because, when we are ready to provide escape routes, for example, we have to sort out who's responsible for providing this escape route, because some people might lose their life following the suggested route. So it's a societal issue as well. So this is one example of a multifaceted university activities in terms of global actions. But we are trying to make it as global as possible so that people can use our and your knowledge for preventing the future disaster. And to that end, we are organizing a World Bosai Forum. Bosai is a Japanese for disaster risk reduction. A Bosai Forum next month, actually, from 9 to 12 November. So for those of you who are very interested in, please join us in Sendai on this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let me first and foremost take the opportunity to also congratulate AIT for the 60th anniversary celebration. Compared to UTP, we are about 1/3 of your age. Right. Thank you also, Dr. Eden, for the invitation for me to participate in this forum and in this occasion. I would try to take it differently in the sense that I would like to share with you a little bit about the story of the university as we go through, and perhaps somewhere along the line, something that we could derive together, learning that we could derive together out of the sharing. Now, we were set up in 1997 by Petronas. We are one of the so-called government-linked university. At a point in time, because of the need for higher education and the inability of the what we call as the public university in Malaysia to meet those needs, the three big corporations owned by the government were requested to form a university. So Petronas is one of it, and Petronas have decided to sort of form this university and very much inclined to technology. So we are not something like A to Z university or comprehensive university. So it's a university set towards technology. Now, at the point when the university was set up, of course, we did not kind of bring in people like that, just like, because even Malaysia at that point in time did not have all the capabilities required. So, we were all taken from the various public universities to form the earlier critical mass, and then we bring on board younger staff. So at that point in time, we were looking at developing capability. Of course, Petronas at the onset of setting the university, they have already have a very ambitious target of actually making the university to become a research-led university, because that is the reputation carried by Petronas, because they want the university to carry a reputation to live up to the expectation of Petronas. So we look at that point in time, on top of providing the education to support the needs, which were not able to be met by the public institution, public university, but we also have to develop our capability. And this is where we were looking at outreach and getting collaboration and assistance. But we were very clear at that point in time, when we go out to look for collaboration, it was more of actually soliciting help and assistance. So we built partnership with quite a number of international universities, in the sense that we were looking at partly taking our students over and develop them, and also sending our staff, our young staff, to actually proceed to do their masters and PhD. So that helped us to build the university at that point in time. So we signed a number of MOU, we built a number of partnerships, but we were very clear at that point in time, the partnership was meant to help us, rather than sort of equal partnership per se. But of course, we have to understand the fact that the reason why these universities are willing to come in partnership with us is because there must be something that we could offer as well. And in this case, obviously, the opportunity for them to make some revenue, from there. And also, we also make partnership with industry at that point in time, because in Malaysia at that point in time, when we when we form up the university, we actually undertake a master plan. And we went around and interviewed the industry players. And one of the things that we found out was that the industry were looking at dynamic graduates who have more confidence in communication. Oh, 2 minutes. Okay. Anyway, to cut matter short, that is what required by the industry. And as a result of that, we have to get them on board. So we form partnership with them, helping us to to develop a curriculum and to assist us in the delivery, to shape up our graduates to meet the requirement of the industry. So that was the clear cut. But as we progress, given that I only have 2 minutes, given that as we progress and we build, right, with the funding that we have from Petronas, we're able to develop our research ability as well as our teaching ability to a higher standard. And then we look at, hey, now that we have had the capability development come to a point where we now can stand sort of an equal standing with the partners, and we move on to a different form of collaboration. This is where we're looking at having a partnership for as far as for teaching. Yeah, we go and form partnership with international universities, international companies, in the sense that not only they contribute, but we also contribute equally, yeah, towards the development of the graduates. For example, exchange of students. Yeah, we developed partnership with France, and we were looking at them sending their students over, and we sending our students over, so it becomes more equally. Now, on the research terms, we're looking at developing technology and actually attacking certain companies where we are able to bring our technology on board. And in this case, some of the example, of course, Petronas is one of the company, given that we are being owned by them. But we have recently worked with ADNOC, and we have also worked with PTT in actually offering them. And they have interest in the technology. In this case, because we have worked a lot in terms of the high CO2 separation, yeah, because this is one of the common issue that the oil and gas company had, yeah, looking at the high CO2. In other words, monetizing the gas from the reserve that had high CO2. That is one. And then for the ADNOC, it's more of actually looking at, because they are also having a carbonate. Yeah? So Malaysia has a lot of carbonate field. So how do we sort of share that? So we are able to raise. So we are clear then, when we form the partnership and we sign the MOU and agreement, it's more on sort of equality. So we have progressed over that in terms of developing the university. I guess I stop for time being. I stop here, and then maybe I'll share with you more as questions come on.
Great. Thank you all. Okay, so my timekeeper tells me we have about 5 or 6 minutes, so we can take some questions, or I can throw some questions out. Anybody from the audience have a question?
Thank you very much for speakers. I have a question from Professor Julia. She explained about the big mega project or big project, which is partnership between different universities and the companies. I'm thinking about how to managing and make sure that each partner is doing his job on the same time, on the right way. Who is going to control? Who is responsible for any failure in this big project?
I think that's a really important point, and I think the more we move towards big team science and working across disciplines and needing to ensure that everybody who contributes to the project is properly recognized, I actually think we've got a lot of thinking to do about how we're going to develop that forward. I think there always has to be a lead in the project, and that person, I'm afraid, ultimately has to have the responsibility. But each partnership has to have, in my view, a really formal arrangement. It can't be, let's do a bit of this together and won't it be nice? It will be nice, but there has to be, I think, a real structure and a real agreement between the two partners and a willingness to be absolutely honest. Trust, to me, is the most important thing in a partnership, and if you don't trust each other, then I think you're on a not very good path.
Maybe I can push you a little bit on that. Everybody here who has very interesting multinational projects, but you sort of glossed over the challenges of making these multicultural cross-border teams work, the student integration problems that exist. No one really talked about those. It was just as if you put everyone together and everyone kind of got along and accomplished. But maybe some of you can comment on what are some of the challenges of making these things really work on the ground, because they're not as easy as they seem. You know, in concept they sound really good, but in reality they're actually very hard to do.
If you allow me, I can probably address from the experience of our university. Now, I think in this respect, the biggest challenges is, you know, if you try to drive it too hard from the top, without the buy-in from your staff, it will be very difficult to happen. Often the opportunity we identified at the top, because we do traveling, we meet people, and then we see opportunities around through meetings. But the question is, how do we cascade it down? So this is where in my university, what we did was we invested a bit in trying to sort of marry them. We bring the staff on board, but of course we explain to them what are the potential gain that they would get. You know, in other words, what's in it for you. And then we sort of allow them to travel and meet their potential partner, have discussion. It may not happen at the first time meeting, but as you go on and try to get them, and of course, you must also tie them to a certain kind of expectation. Otherwise, they would think that, okay, there's no pressure for me to make this happen. So if you say, okay, I'm going to give you this opportunity, I'm going to invest for you, right? But you're going to make it happen because we see these are the opportunities, right? And they see the logic of it and they sort of take it. And thank God, we have managed to get quite a number of things happening through that. But I think in the earlier session, one of the speakers mentioned about you need to have that focal person. It's very important. That focal person must work with the other party. And having that can make it happen. That's my...
Dr. Moon, you mentioned that you have people working, let me just see, I took my notes, 32 campuses worldwide. So how do you get all of these people to kind of fit in where they're going so that they have a productive experience? Because again, just sending them overseas or sending them around doesn't mean they're going to have a successful, result.
I think you misunderstood. 32 different camps in Korea. That's
32 camp. Oh, in Korea.
In Korea.
Oh, okay. Then that's
okay.
Okay.
That's why we are using existing facilities, existing researchers. We have national lab qualified PhD researchers, more than 10,000. We are using them for 1,000 for that, like faculties. That's why our teaching cost and education cost is 1/3 of the existing university. Okay, clear?
Any other question from the audience? Eden, go ahead.
Well, Julia, I hate to ask you this question, but I'm sure people are dying to know that maybe just in 100 words or less, what is the outlook for research collaboration with the EU and Brexit situation? Maybe you can just give us 3 scenarios, each 25 words or less or something.
Well, the real benefit has been partnership and what's come out of it, but of course the money is involved, and that's absolutely inevitable. Every EU country puts money into the EU research pot, and it is up to academics to bid for it, so it is competitive funding. The UK has done very well out of that. It puts in £900 million a year and it gets 1.5 billion out, so it's certainly been a very good investment for the UK. But it's much, much, much more than money. What really matters is that people can move across boundaries. If I want to go and work in Spain, for example, I can go tomorrow morning. I haven't got to worry about getting a visa. I can go and live there. I am a European citizen. So we can have our researchers going to and fro, living in different countries, and building really strong partnerships. Ditto with our students. European students come into the UK, our students go into mainland Europe. The students pay home fees, they don't pay international fees. So the benefits are absolutely enormous, and of course the network. And it's not just the universities, it's also the businesses.
I think my timekeeper has let me know that our time is up. So let me just take this time to thank each of our speakers for really interesting presentations, and thank you to the audience as well.
Well, I think that we really are benefiting from a lot of different experiences, a lot of different knowledge. And I want to thank you. And we have one more session. Please stay put. There's not going to be there won't be any break, and we'll go right into the next session. But first, some presents. Okay, so the last session is we'll talk about the chapter. Okay, after all this talk, what kind of sustainable campus do you think you're running or you plan to run in terms of policies, in terms of when you teach? So to do that, we have another group of excellent presidents and speakers. And the chairman is Dr. Amsu from Thailand Tech in Estonia. Wonderful little country. And Dr. please come up, and speakers please come up, please.
Dear President Woon, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, AIT alumni and other guests, let me also, together with previous speakers, first congratulate AIT on its 60th anniversary. Born from a strategic vision and mission after the Second World War, it has developed to this point through different times, as I understand, and it's restructuring and revisioning itself into a modern institution of regional development, global outreach, as well as service and impact locally and worldwide. We've all come a long journey, however, not to celebrate 60 years behind us, but rather to develop a vision into the future. Try to find us what we share, try to find us how we can learn from each other, try to formulate common challenges ahead, and try to find solutions. That's why the universities are there all over the world, altogether more than 25,000. I think we've had the opportunity to understand how different we are and how complicated it is to reduce these institutions in their different environments with their different visions and missions into a linear line of ranking. Despite the fact that we share the common service of the Goddess of Truth, however, there are other challenges around us that we try to fulfill in very many different ways. And I personally believe we have to understand these differences and try to find out different ways of being excellent. I sometimes compare the universities to different cars. It's not true that excellence is only in a Rolls-Royce. An average Polo or a Isuzu car can be as excellent as its own mission. The same holds true for the universities. I think in this sense we also differ in how we deliver service to our corresponding people, communities, be it near or far. I think we also differ with how we reach out globally, in small or big, comprehensive or specialized. There are different ways to do that. But I'd like to come to the topic of this last session, sustainability. I think nothing has brought universities together with our partners closer together worldwide than the ultimate challenge of sustainability. Lead climate change, insufficient resources, pure drinking water, a number of challenges that we share worldwide. And we can't escape that, and we can't go alone. And that, I think, is the most important challenge that we all face. Despite the fact that we serve knowledge and truth and try to develop skills and engineering, I think there is one more important aspect, and that is about values. I don't believe any of these big challenges can be solved by knowledge and technology alone without investing into mutual trust across all possible borders, be they geopolitical, discipline-wise, institutional-wise, or otherwise. How to solve this problem, and this is my introduction to this panel, is through understanding that Mother Earth is like a living organism. The concept coined somewhere in the end of the 70s of the Gaia as a living organism. I think this idea has to be developed further, understanding our small communities, including university campuses and university communities, as living organisms, with an understanding from the inputs and outputs, energy, material, information flows, waste, and all related problems, what I think engineers and scientists understand very well. And based on that, try to reach mutual understanding and trust, build it over the barriers between rich and poor, south and north, and otherwise. I come from not from a small country, but from a very small country. And I think we are all in the same boat in the sense that the big ones and the rich ones are not in a different situation from the small and the poor ones. How to move ahead is building bridges and trust between us. And this is a complicated thing. The university should try to develop into a policy and practices, train our students so that they graduate with an understanding and mutual trust much better than we've had developed between ourselves so far. Thank you for your attention, and let me now introduce the distinguished speakers, colleagues from other universities. First, Dr. Roger Chen, Aisho University, Taiwan. Professor Tang Gen Chaya, President, National University of Singapore. Datin Dr. Anita Abdulaziz, Vice Chancellor, University Brunei Darussalam. Professor Kyosuke Nagata, President, University of Tsukuba.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to congratulate to AIT's 6th anniversary. It's a great honor to be here to share with you what we have done in Iso University. As we are focusing on the sustainable campus, in my opinion, we are not pursuing sustainable campus. We have also focusing on the community sustainability. So every university should doing more for the society. So the second part I will share with you what we have done in Taiwan is a countrywide university social responsibility project. I will share with you about what we have done. And first of all, briefing about Iso University. We are quite young. We are founded in 1990s. Right now, we have 9 colleges, including College of Medicine, and we own the 3 hospitals. And our student number is 15,000, more than 15,000. Among them, we have 2,200 foreign students coming from the 49 countries, very diversified university. So, and last year, we just launched 10 years of strategic planning. We call the ISU 2028. We are focusing on 4 dimensions. The first one is we are going the outstanding teaching. And as we can share same comment in the previous session we had mentioned about, we are not only the professional education, we also want the humanity. And we are so-called holistic education on campus. And also, we want to encourage students to doing interdisciplinary self-learning. In the new year, the AI technology, we doing a lot of the technology into the teaching. The second one is the future research. We also encourage our 9 colleges. I just mentioned we have the College of Medicine. Medicare is very important in the future. So that's why we are focusing on 2 interdisciplinary. One is the medicine. We have the great foundation of it. And the other one is a big trend for the future, smart technology. 8 other colleges interact with College of Medicine. We are working on these 2 parts for the next 10 years. Our research is the interdisciplinary innovation. The third one is the quality service, not only for the university, for the green campus. We also working on the community services, and also we are launching this year by the government of Taiwan. We are launching the regional revitalization project. I will later on touch about it. The last one is the global village. We are encouraging students for the international engagement. So that's why we have the student more than 10% of the foreign students. We are the 10 major research areas. We are asking them to focusing contribution to the 7 goals of the SDGs. And also for the campus the SDGs project, we have 4 different dimensions of the strategy. First one is the campus sustainable management, also including the green purchase for all the university. And the second one, we have the encourage the campus the habitat diversity. And also the smart campus that we have launched several mechanisms. The second one, environmental management, including water management, water management, and even air conditioning quality. And the third one is energy conservation measures. I believe that all the universities have done a lot on this area. And the last one is education. We have launched several courses related to SDG for the students. This is our campus screen. So every building we have the rent collection facility, and keep all the campus green and the walkability. And this is we have just launched about the smart campus, the different kind of measurement and different strategy, including smart learning, smart administration, smart caring, and smart management, etc. Those in black we already have done. Those in red with under planning, we are doing the further on the smart campus to save the energy and make the campus a green campus. And this is about the smart learning space. We through the IoT and the sensor technology, put the student-oriented multifunction learning center. We're using the temperature, humidity sensor, and also the illuminance sensor, and also motion sensor, etc., to make the energy saving and easy to achieve. And the other one, we encourage students learn through we say the A-cube, anytime, anywhere, and any device, through any device. So use a lot of the modern technology into the education methodology, including online classroom and the ISU, the cloud, smart classroom, etc. encourage students and save lots of the paper. And we also doing some waste management. So we say about the plastic straw-free and the hazardous waste and the paper e-waste, the food waste. We are working on it and to reduce them. And we already done some climate change to save energy. For example, we all long applied energy saving facilities, and also we are remodeling the air conditioning saving power, and also using the heating system to save energy, and also apply the new way of new energy. So we have done some achievement about that. For the energy saving, the water heating system, we saved 62.5%. For lighting facility, we saved 73% of the energy. And the air conditioning, we have cut down the 20% of cost. And also, we offer several courses for students, including more than 60 courses per year. There are more than 3,000 students select the course engaged in the SDGs-related courses. And the last part I will share with you is island-wide, whole university in Taiwan. We are doing the thing. We are launched by our Ministry of Education. It's called the University Social Responsibility Project. The idea is our MOE want to ask each university fulfill social responsibility by caring people and also solving local community problems. And this project is first launched in 2017. This is a pilot run. And I was appointed by all the ministers to host this kind of project. And right now we are in the phase one. And for phase 2 is going to launch under review, launched in the next year. Right now I'll show you some topic. For stage 1, we are focusing for 5 areas. It's community-based caring, industrial connection, sustainable environment, food safety, and long-term care, and also social engagement. For the next year, we are more expected to learn and also ask all the universities doing the USR project must be related at least one of the SDGs goals. And this is some statistics for the phase 1. We already have 220 projects running by the 114 universities. Totally, we have the 150 higher education institutes in Taiwan. It's approximately 75% of the universities engaged in the USR. And most of half of them is a community-based caring. And I will share with one of the projects Isho University has been doing for the past 2 years. And in 2009, there the deadly typhoon Makok that caused the 6 tribes in the high mountain area. They rushed out, big landslide, and they lost their village and lost their home. So our government moved them to suburban area, 6 tribes altogether. And that's a big fuss is within 4 days, the rainfall is 2,500 millimeters. It's a record high, half century in Taiwan. So there's a new problem when they move to the suburban, leave their village. Therefore, we review all the problem and try to solve them for them. So the one problem is cultural continuity. They leave their hometown, their tribe. And so we all have College of Indigenous Studies. We ask them to help them to rebuild their culture. And second one, in the new way, they don't have irrigation water to help their crops. And also the community empowerment, and also smart healthcare for elder people in the tribe. So we do several colleges all together, work together to helping them. And these are some of our strategy we are doing now. And this is a snack view of what they have done. We beautify their landscape, modern, and rebuild their culture. This is some their indigenous cultural building, and also set up the cultural health center, etc., and also review the irrigation system for them. We also promote permaculture to helping them raise their crops, and also daycare center for the elder, and also some cultural promotion, cultural community. Yes, and the last one, we also helping them about the agricultural products, developing the agriculture, helping to promote, to marketing them. That's what we have done. And then for the next year, we are do more about the USR project. in the regional area. And also, I just mentioned, in this year, 2019-20, we are also going to launch regional revitalization project by whole country. This is not only run by the MOE, also different ministry of our government all together to help in them. Ask the university to join together to help in the regional revitalization. The idea is from Japan. And the last one, the issue is not obviously share the same value with each other, especially in the AIT. We want to the university as intellectually innovative and also social engaged. So this is my university. For you have not chance to visit us, this is the 3 minutes close our university. Very beautiful. We have the 5-star hotel and the 4-star hotel and the ferry pier on the top. And this is the outlet mall, the largest outlet mall in Asia, and also amusement park in front of the university. And the last picture I will show you. I welcome all of you. This is a picture took on the top of the building, administrative building. We have the New Year firework countdown at the Ida Wall. Yes, there you can sit on our campus and take a picture. And every year, half million people rush in to take a part of the New Year Eve. Thank you very much, and invite all of you to join us the 30 years anniversary. Thank you.
Prof. Chen, you have a very beautiful campus. Well, first, my heartiest congratulations to AIT on your 60th anniversary. And it is really an honor for me to be here at this forum. Let me just briefly talk about 4 aspects. One, Singapore, as you all know, is a small island, only 720 square kilometers. And to Singapore, climate change is really an existential issue, right? Because if the water level rise, then there'll be no more Singapore, right? And to give you an example, there are 3 things that are also very important for Singapore: water, food, and energy, right? In 1965, when Singapore was formed, UN actually classified Singapore as a water-scarce country, right? We invested in water technologies. In fact, just 20 years ago, we have to import 80% of our water. But now, we already have the technology that we could export our water technologies. And it is little wonder that NUS and NTU are amongst the number 1 and number 2 in membrane technology. And of course, what we hope to do, at least in our plans or in Singapore's plan, is to capture every drop of rain that falls on Singapore. Currently, we only capture 70%. We want to capture 100%. And with that, and with our desalination technology and our new water technology, we should be self-sufficient. We also, Singapore as a country, subscribed to the Paris Accord and also the UN 2030 plan, as well as the 17 SDGs. And as part of even, for instance, one of the SDG about food sustainability, Singapore also has a vision, 3030. You may not be surprised that we import most of our food. So our 3030 vision is to produce 30% of the nutritional values of our food, right, by 2030. This is something which is possible because we are already aware of technologies. What we need will be 32 football fields, 22 football fields, build them to 12-story blocks, and do urban farming. We should be able to produce all the vegetables that we need in Singapore, right? But question is whether we can do them in an energy efficient way. So that's Singapore as a whole. On the second part, in terms of educational programs, we have no lack of educational programs that are aligned with the 17 SDGs or sustainability. In fact, we have probably 100 to 200 courses related to or encompassing sustainability. We have a number of programs. We have environmental science studies program. We have an environmental engineering program. We also had at the master's level environmental management, the integrated sustainability design, and so on and so forth. So plenty of programs, and of course these are very much supported by research in the area of sustainability. The third thing is on how we incorporate a lot of this educational as well as research interest also into the things that we do. So our students are very active. There's a student group, in fact, one of the biggest on campus. It has an acronym SAVE, as in Save the World, that's SAVE. And SAVE stands for SAVE, Students Against Violation of Earth. Right? And they do a lot of initiatives which management is always very happy to support. So, for instance, sometime 8 years back, they recommended that we charge for plastic bags, and we charge 10 cents for plastic bags instead of giving plastic bags free, right? And that helped a lot in actually cutting down the use of plastic bags. Our students are also very active on entrepreneurship. Students and alumni have set up more than 650 companies, and quite a number of companies are social enterprises. So one example is Water Roam. They invented this equipment that can convert dirty well or river water into drinkable water. And one pump, because they envisage that it is to be used in villages that may not even have electricity, so it's manual power, and it can provide for drinking water for 25 people, each of this pump, if you say use it for 8 hours a day. And this has been sort of through our contacts with a lot of NGOs being distributed to more than 70,000 people in 23 countries. So these are a lot of these things that we support and we integrate into the facility, to the activities. The fourth point is on infrastructure, right? And you may understand that in Singapore, hot weather, air conditioning uses actually more than half of our electricity. And we have always to try to find ways to come up with new ways of air conditioning. One of my colleagues has actually invented a more efficient way of air conditioning that can actually save 40% of the cost. At the same time, we are changing all the chiller plants to make our air conditioners more efficient. We are committed in another of NUS affiliated consortium, the YARU. We are committed since 2008 to reduce our carbon footprint in the business as usual level by about 1/4 and by 2020. So we are on the right track. We should be able to achieve that. We also, Singapore is known to be a city in a garden. So even within the campus itself, I have 6,500 trees. We have initiated an initiative to plant another 10,000 trees, right, over the next 3 years. How are we going to plant it? What we do is that we actually have this 3D point cloud of the campus. This is part of Virtual Singapore. And NUS is the first to actually realize this. The resolution is a 3-dimensional point set. The resolution is between 2 to 5 cm, which means that I can, if I integrate this with the building information system of my buildings, I can fly a drone from one point to another point, all right? And I can deliver food and whatever I want. But what we like to do, or what we have done, is that we know where to plant the trees. to minimize to minimize the temperature, the aggregate temperature across. In fact, we have full information on the climate, the local climate around the NUS campus. So whenever we build buildings, we built it in such a way that we can save energy, right? And last, we just unveiled a new building at the start of this year, our very first purpose-built zero-energy building. This is the first building in Singapore and probably in Southeast Asia. It is serviced by 1,200 solar panels, which can generate about 500 megawatts. In fact, in the last 9 months that we have used it, it is actually energy positive, which means that we are returning energy to the grid. And our intention, of course, is to build lots more of this sort of buildings or convert more of these buildings into minimal or hopefully zero energy building. All the new buildings in the last 10 years that we built have achieved this platinum green mark, which means that it is very energy efficient. So that's just some examples on how we actually use research to help shape the facilities that we have. Thank you.
Put this down. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Eden Woon and IIT for inviting me to this auspicious event. Congratulations, AIT. Indeed, this is a very important topic. Just 3 weeks ago, Brunei had a very heavy downpour, and that was the heaviest that's been recorded since 1983. And we had to deal with a lot of flash floods. And only 7 weeks ago, we recorded the highest temperature, daily temperature ever, and that was a staggering of 36.9 degrees Celsius. In fact, in Brunei, there's an increasing trend in the maximum annual daily temperature. And only less than a week ago, about 5 days ago, we had wildfire, and that swiped out 15 hectares of peat forest. So again, global change, climate change is an important topic indeed. Although maybe Brunei, in terms of greenhouse global, in terms of greenhouse gas emission, it probably makes up only about 0.017% of the total globally. I think now, being an oil and gas economy, it's important now than ever to help mitigate the issue. But I do think climate change, global warming, rising sea levels, as you experience in Singapore, as well as food shortage and water war, these are issues that need to be tackled not just globally, but nationally, but as well as individually as well. So I think education plays a very important role in this. And I think for this session, I believe we're only talking about teaching and learning, as well as campus development in terms of sustainability. But as Prof. Eden Woon pointed out in your introductory remarks earlier on, these are all intertwined. All our business core businesses in the university, being teaching and learning, research, enterprise, internationalization, our governance, they're all intertwined. I think it's like DNA. They're very intertwined, so when one is weak, it will pull the rest down. So I think in terms of this session, I'll be talking about teaching and learning first, and then secondly about our campus development. I think education, like I said, plays a very important role. And I think the world belongs to the younger generation. I believe that it's very important to educate them in terms of what challenges they'll be facing, what kind of solutions they'll need to develop, and the platforms they'll need to develop as well in overcoming these issues. Environment is very important in Brunei. 70% of Brunei is covered by rainforests. And in fact, the government is very serious that it has committed that 55% of Brunei will remain at least be covered by rainforest at the Heart of Borneo initiative. In 2009, we actually overhauled our whole curriculum. We underwent a university-wide curricular review. So from being very traditional, we became more akin to liberal arts. So 55% of the times the student will be studying within the core, and 45% they'll be crossing disciplines or be doing interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary modules. So we came up with 5 learning outcomes, namely communication skills, reasoning skills, quantitative and now digital skills as well, a national and global outlook. But across the curriculum, there are 3 themes that we integrate across the curriculum. The first one being leadership, second one being entrepreneurship, and the third one is environmental awareness. So we want all our students to be aware of the environment. This means, one, they're able to scan the environment for opportunities. Secondly, they're more sensitive to the environment. So for example, the engineering students will be aware and be sensitive of what kind of materials to use, etc. So within this, so our curriculum, our programs are more experiential, more active learning, and in the 3rd year, all students must leave the university for 1 academic year, and that's endorsed by Senate. If they don't graduate. And they have a choice of 4 activities. Student mobility, study abroad. Number 2 is internship, so they can be interns either in Brunei or overseas. The 3rd one is incubation projects, so they can be coming together and do incubation, like starting up businesses. And the 4th one is community outreach project. And I believe this community outreach project, which they can do either in Brunei or overseas, has a lot of social impact. So for example, they can be in Indonesia or South Thailand, for example. So it could be from teaching basic English, teaching basic computer skills, and so forth. But as well as within this curriculum, there are interdisciplinary modules as well in globalization, for example, environmental studies. But I think what's very important is not the content of the knowledge, but its approaches to the knowledge. Now I will go into campus development. Although we're a young university, we're only 34 years old, not all our buildings are green, unlike the ones in NUS. But the newer buildings, they're more green, and they have been approved by the Brunei Green Building Council. And I think, for example, this building here, which is the Health Sciences, this is the Health Sciences building. That's an extension, so it's more newer. So it would have water collection, and then which is stored, and then it's used to recycle to be used for domestic use. Again, like Singapore, the biggest usage is actually, biggest energy usage is actually by our air conditioning. Of course, it's very expensive to change all the buildings in terms of the air conditioning, but we are doing that at the moment, changing from air conditioning which is air-cooled to that which is water-cooled, which I believe is more efficient and more cheaper as well. But however, we did an initiative almost 4 years ago in terms of educating users in terms of air conditioning. So what we did is, in the past, our air conditioning was 24/7, so it was on all the time. So we switch off aircon from 5 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day, and also increased the temperature to 23 degrees Celsius. And within 6 months, we're able to reduce our electricity consumption by 24% and saved about $170,000 within 6 months, which is a lot of money. But we're also using the whole campus as an innovation test bed. And this is to allow researchers and students to test their research in terms of innovation. So for example, this one here is our Botanical Research Center, which is over 5 acres. At the moment, it is using projects across the university. It's 20% of the energy use is through innovation from the university. So for example, using organic solar panels, using our wind turbine. The wind turbine is different in a way that the wind in Brunei is very irregular and is at low speed. So this wind turbine is able to generate electricity with that kind of wind that we have in Brunei. But we also have biomass research, and also use the sensor technology researchers plus the energy people. Also, we use static bicycles as well to allow students to cycle, but then store the energy, and that's used for the lighting in this Botanical Research Center, but as well as the cafe, which is attached to it. Again, we have our Kuala Belalong Field Study Station. There's a part of the university which is amidst the rainforest that you need to take 2 boat rides to go to. And again, we've moved from diesel and changed it into renewable energy. In the future, this is what we have planned. We have 3 projects in the future. This is our alumni house. And that will again be a green building. And we have an eco-village, which we are proposing at the moment. And again, that will integrate commercial areas, residential areas, teaching learning spaces, and research areas as well. And that will be eco in terms of being very green as well. The third project that we're doing at the moment is having a pond which is used as a water storage, and that will be used to feed into hose reels and fire hydrants. Again, I was talking earlier on that sometimes you have wildfire. It's cheaper to use rainwater rather than using water that we get from the main supply. With that, I'd like to end, but I'd just like to say maybe overall, a lot of things that we're doing are probably piecemeal, and I think it'll be good to do a lot of collaboration to look at the issue holistically. Thank you very much.
Right, this is the last speaker, so just a little bit be patient. Okay, I'm Kyu Nagata, President of University of Tsukuba, and University of Tsukuba is the newest Japanese national universities, comprehensive universities. But origin of our school is the oldest one, established in 1872, just 5 years after samurai days. And we are very comprehensive research university, 3 Nobel laureate taught students, and we have the 110 Olympic and Paralympic medals. So very comprehensive university. And I had thought that what I am talking about this session, and first I thought that the trust. However, the topics is now focusing on to the energy or environment, so that I changed that to my mind, and I described several our university activity and energy and environmental issues. First of all, as a research university, of course, advanced research is very important. We are conducting and developing a number of the energy-related projects, such as the oil producing green algae project, which is the algae making the gasoline sort of, and also the newly established catalyst dependent energy storage system, and power electronics, and also personal energy saving mobility systems. And also we are studying how to implement into the society these kind of a product, or how to realize a smart city concept or a compact city concept as the urban city structure using the developing data sciences. Education is very difficult. We have number of the classes related to the current situation of the global warming, or how to stop that the global problems related to the environment solve. But why? Because this issue is right now is not for the students themselves. They know, but they don't understand the reality of this problem. Of course, environment is changing, and we have the very severe situation in the future. But the future is not for themselves. So therefore, we have to make the students realize this importance of these issues. How can we do? We saw that one of the best way is to make the student realize a smart campus where their energy or environmental issues are considered, while their convenience is kept. So, for example, if you change that the lighting system to the LED lighting system, so energy consumption is reduced, but convenience is increased. And the same thing true if you introduce the car sharing system into the campus. We did, and gas emission is reduced. However, convenience is increased. This is the way, and so that we consider more about, so that the science and technology or education is changed a little bit, and we established the new type of the industrial academia collaboration with Toyota. Toyota is, of course, that the car company, but Toyota is now seriously thinking the era post-car. If there is no car, so Toyota is never survived. And they're really thinking about what is the next era. So they are thinking that completely city structure or social structure is changed. Therefore, right now, the collaboration, our university and the Toyota is focusing on what is the next generation city structure. And to this project, a number of the scientists are involved from Department of Law, Risk Engineering, Social Engineering, Art, Design, Sports, or something else, but not from the engine and fuel engineering. So this is the very comprehensive and interdisciplinary collaboration between industry, academia. And one of the results is that, so maybe the sort of the compact city is the one of the best choice. Very luckily, we have the one of the largest campus in Japan, and with the area next to our campus, we can develop the real a compact city trial, and then students are involved in. So therefore, they are now understanding and realizing the real importance of these problems. So therefore, I think this is a university and so education research based on education research, and where we have to contribute to society. And so I'm thinking very much still So next time, if we meet you, that I can discuss with you trust, which is different from accountability, which is different from reliability, which is different from belief. So what is the truth? This is the next one. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, all the panelists. We do have 4 minutes for questions. 4 minutes only. Is there anybody from the audience who wishes to pose a question to the panelists? Yes, please, over there, please.
Thank you. This question goes to Dr. Chen. You have mentioned about the smart campus. So and there are a lot of the 5 components in the smart management and so on. And I do believe that there will be a significant involvement of the IT. As we all aware that the IT has been quite a dominant features in this generation, and also making the people distant from each other socially. So and for the social sustainability and the world peace, I think the social interaction and intercultural interactions are quite important. So I'd like to know, in your smart campus, how do you balance this between this smart city with the IT involvement and this interaction among the multicultural environment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, I totally agree with you. With IT technology, maybe we have the less opportunity to interact with each other. I remember in the Higher Education Summit in 2018, held in America, they've come to a conclusion. In the AI society, the most important skill for students is not technology, it's not communication. To my surprise, it calls empathy. It's empathy. Empathy, you feel each other, you empathy, care for others. So that's the most important. I totally agree that section 1, you mentioned, a lot of the president mentioned about humanity. What we are going to different from the robot or AI is humanity, creativity, care for each other. So we use the technology as a tool to let us have a more time, more convenient time to interact with each other. So for the university, we have to do a lot of the extracurricular activity for students to engage, especially in the community. We are talking about the sustainable campus. What if our community cannot be sustainable? How come university can be sustainable? So we have to reach out. That's the spirit when I appointed by our Minister of Education. We are doing the university social responsibility. I'm so pleased and I'm willing to help. I call up all the meetings and set up all the mechanisms for the whole university to apply. And the government subsidy fund to do that. Every university right now accounts for the probably 75% of university all engage in this kind of social responsibility project in Taiwan. So this is a good start. We are encourage the people, and we can say a lot of students and the faculty members join the Pai-Ho settlement. That settlement, they care the elder people. They talk with the elder people from bottom of their heart. They change their mindset. I remember one of the presidents say, "It's the most difficult thing is change the mindset, not only the faculty member and also the student, because the student is for the future." I totally agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. With empathy with the organizers, I have to finish in 20 seconds. Dear panelists, thank you for your contributions. I'm really glad we heard the very important terms of empathy and trust in this session. I hope this empathy and trust towards great challenges remains with us also after this meeting here. Thanks, everybody, and the session's convened.
Thank you very much. This is a very important topic. course, cost always comes into play, but we are determined to go in that direction. So let's give a big hand. Let me give them some gifts, and I'll make a couple of closing remarks. Anniversary, and we're all very grateful to Her Royal Highness for coming. Even though everybody knows she just got out of the hospital yesterday afternoon, and this is how much passion she feels about AIT. Secondly, this afternoon we learned a lot of things. I think those are just stimulants for us to go forward and learn more. I want to at this point thank all the speakers, all the presidents who have thought about the subject and gave us their wisdom. And I also want to thank many other participants from universities, including some other presidents. And you can see all the lists of universities on the inside back cover of the booklet, of the program booklet, about the universities, all the universities that came to help us celebrate. And I want to really thank all the universities that did want to be a part of our 60th anniversary celebration. I thank the alumni who came, although the alumni participation is not over, because tomorrow is the big open house on campus for AIT alumni. So that's another big event, but for alumni, this will be a joyous time to come back to your home, to your family, to your campus. And tonight there's, I think, the Mother Chapter is hosting a dinner in the dining room here. But again, for those of you who are, ending your stay with us this time, I thank you all, and I really am appreciative of the time and the energy you spent with us celebrating this transforming AIT 60th anniversary. So please have a safe trip home, and I wish you the best of luck in your institution. Thank you all very much. The bus leaves at 5.